Hi everyone. My name is Alyssa. Sorry, I just shook my table. I'm a little nervous here. I am a pre-medical student doing a post-grad currently. I'm doing my master's abroad in Barcelona. I'm from originally New York. And I just thought that I would start this channel of mine with videos that could possibly help other pre-medical students just like you if you're a pre-med student on this page right now. So I found basically three ways that we can understand positive, negative reinforcement and punishment. It took me a very, very long time for me to understand this, and I thought that I would share it with you since like that light bulb just went off in my head. Um, my roommate is right across from me. She's the one who's encouraging me to do this video. I'll just show you guys her for a few seconds. Okay, her name's Nicole. All right. So basically what I found was, what are we talking about? We're talking about behavior conditioning, right? So there are only three questions that you need to ask if you have a problem that's asking you what is the kind of behavior that you have, or what kind of if it's like positive, negative reinforcement, or punishment. So what I would recommend you guys do is follow these three steps. So the first step is identifying what is the behavior. I wrote it out because I was like, oh my God, bingo. What is the behavior? So that means, what is this person doing, or what is the parent doing? What is the child doing, or essentially like what is the main behavior that is going on? I'm going to give you guys examples after this, after I explain the three questions to you. The second question is, what is the result or consequence of the behavior? Has something been added? Has something been removed? And the third question is, would this behavior likely increase or decrease? So the second question, which is what is the result or consequence of the behavior, has something been added or has something been removed, will tell you if it's positive or negative, first of all. Then the third question, would the behavior likely increase or decrease, will tell you if it's reinforced or if it's a punishment. So I will go ahead and give you guys an example because I was using a page. Second, I found this online. I'll give you the link to it afterwards. So one question asked, one second. One question states that Jamie spanks his child for playing in the street, right? So here's Jamie, a person, spanking his child for playing in the street. What is the behavior that is like, causing a disruption, I guess you would say? It's the child playing in the street. So the next question is, what is the result or consequence of this behavior? So what is happening because this child is playing in the street? Jamie is spanking his child. So would this behavior increase or decrease? Would the behavior of the child playing in the street be increased or decreased? So first of all, let's take this slowly because I had to do the same. What is the behavior? It's the child playing in the street. What is the result or consequence of the behavior? Jamie is spanking his child. So Jamie is physically adding some kind of action, which is addition, I would say, like that's how I remember it, which is a plus sign, so that his child's behavior of playing in the street can decrease. So the result or consequence of the child playing in the street is Jamie spanking the child. Jamie spanking the child is adding an action, which is plus for positive. And the behavior, which is the child playing in the street, would likely decrease, which means it's punishment. So the answer for this, if you were asked to identify whether this was an example of positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, or negative punishment, would be positive punishment. So the next example was an A on the exam that you studied really hard for. So what is the behavior? You were studying very hard. Now, the second question would be, what is the result or consequence of this behavior? So what happened because you studied hard? You received an A. You received plus because you got something. Something was added to this whole scenario. And you got an A. So you received an A. And now, would your behavior likely increase or decrease? And now I think all of you would say that you would probably study hard again, which means you would increase your behavior of studying so that you can receive the A again. So it would be positive reinforcement. Positive because you were basically receiving an A. Reinforcement because the behavior, which was you studying very hard, will likely happen again. Third question. I'm only going to do 5 because I feel like this is a very long video. 3. Bree cleans her room to keep her parents off her back. Okay, so Bree is cleaning her room. That is the behavior. Is she, actually no, let me go back. The second question would be, what is the result, consequence of this behavior? So what is happening because Bree is cleaning her room? Her parents are staying off her back, okay? To keep her parents off her back. She's cleaning the room, so her parents are not bothering her. So by parents, that's how I kind of rephrased it. So because her parents are, staying away from her, it's a negative. So that's how I kind of categorize everything. It's negative by parents. And what would the behavior likely do? Increase or decrease? Would Brie likely continue cleaning her room or not clean her room? I would say because she likes keeping her parents off her back, the negative part, she will continue cleaning her room. The reinforcement part. So because she will likely clean her room, it's reinforcement. She's reinforcing the behavior of cleaning her room. The next example is getting a paycheck. So what is the behavior? You're working to get the paycheck, essentially. So they kind of left out the working part, but you're working to get a paycheck. So that is the behavior. What is the result or consequence of this behavior? Well, you get a paycheck. So because you're working, that's the behavior, you are receiving a paycheck. So receiving a paycheck, something's being added to the scenario, put a plus sign on it. So positive so far. Now, would the behavior likely increase or decrease? I would say because you're happy with getting the check, you would probably keep working to get that check. So you're going to reinforce this behavior of working. I'm going to give you actually 2 more examples because this one, this is what got me to, sit down and be like, man, I need to go over this. I don't understand why I'm getting all this wrong. So the 5th example is reducing anxiety by smoking a cigarette. What is this behavior? I'm going to give you guys a second to think about that. Reducing anxiety by smoking a cigarette. I hope you guys decided to say that the behavior is smoking a cigarette. That's what's happening. You are smoking a cigarette. Now, what does this behavior cause? What is the result or consequence of you smoking a cigarette? You are removing the anxiety. So something is being taken away from the scenario, which is the anxiety. So negative, right? Now, the last question is, would the behavior increase or decrease? Would it likely increase or decrease? Would the behavior of you smoking a cigarette likely increase or decrease? Well, if your behavior is, which is smoking a cigarette, is reducing your anxiety, you would likely increase this behavior so that you can, keep reducing your anxiety. So you would reinforce this behavior of smoking a cigarette, and it would be negative because something is being removed from the scenario. So if you follow these 3, if you ask these 3 questions in order and answer them in order, you will get the answer in order. So for the last one, we'll do this again. Taking an aspirin to relieve a headache. What is the behavior? Taking an aspirin. Okay, so what is the result or consequence of this behavior? The headache is relieved, so the headache is going away. Negative. Now, the last question would be, would the behavior increase or decrease? Would you likely take this aspirin again? Well, if you like relieving your headache, I would imagine you increasing your behavior of taking the aspirin. And so that means that you're reinforcing your behavior. So this would be, the answer would be negative reinforcement, because you are going to reinforce the behavior of taking the aspirin to relieve the headache. Negative. So if you follow these questions, it should give you the answer in order. So the first answer doesn't give you really anything. It's just identifying what you need to focus on. What is the behavior? The second is, what's the result or consequence? That will tell you if it's negative or positive. And the last thing is, would this behavior increase? Would your behavior increase? Or the behavior in mind increase or decrease? And that will tell you if it's reinforcement or punishment. So I hope you find this video helpful. I know I talked a lot. This is my first video, so I'm just trying to help out other pre-med students. If none of the other videos are working, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. I'm also accepting thumbs down if this was not so helpful. A thumbs down will probably not get me back on here. But anywho, I hope I helped somebody out there. And yeah, so thanks everybody for paying attention.